what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Footcandle Films. Film news and reviews from two guys who really like movies.
This episode is brought to you by the Footcandle Film Society. For a schedule of upcoming screenings and membership information, visit the Society's website at www.footcandle.org.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Footcandle Films. This is it, Chris, our year-end extravaganza.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of obligated, being a film review show. We kind of have to do one of these at the end of the year where we talk about what we liked through the year, what our favorite ones were, blah, 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 all that stuff. So we're going to try to make it as entertaining as possible. I like the topics that you have posed for us to try to match up our recommendations for the film for the year. So we're going to do that here later on in the show. But before we get to our wrap-ups, we are going to do some quick reviews of several movies that have just been released in the last few weeks that we want to go through. The latest Hobbit movie. What's this one called?
Desolation of Smaug.
Oh, yes. Rolls off the tongue. That's
Yes.
it. Anchorman 2, Enough Said, and Philomena. So a nice variety of films for us to talk about. After we do our quick reviews, we will be crossing one off of my embarrassing movie list, films I have never seen. I will be crossing that off. The one listed, It's a Wonderful Life, because we did see that at a screening just last night for the holidays. We're going to talk about it for a few minutes as well. Excellent. Does it still hold up for you? And for me, first time seeing it, was it worth the hype? Then we're going to have our year in review as we go through all of our topics and categories, looking back in the year in film that was 2013. And I think that'll be a nice full show for us there, Chris. What do you think?
Sounds like we got plenty to cover.
Perfect. So let's get ready to get started here on the Mesh.tv with Footcandle Films, your podcast show of all about films, movies, discussions, and whatnot. I'm Alan. This is Chris across from me. Chris, how you doing?
I'm in the midst of a cold, but Santa and his sleigh have dropped off some medication, so I'm bouncing back.
You're doing okay now? So.
Yes.
Well, good, because we're going to need you for this show. We got a lot to cover, a lot to talk about. So let's go ahead and get started with our first review, which will be The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug.
Or Smaug.
Smaug. Got it.
The dragon.
My dear Frodo, you asked me once if I had told you everything there was to know about my adventures. Well, I can honestly say I have told you the truth. I may not have told you all of it.
Bilbo Baggins. I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
So, Chris, with The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, which I just like saying. It's just fun to say. Okay, let me kind of back it up. I did not see this film. You did, so I'm going to ask you some questions about this.
Gotcha.
I did see the first Hobbit movie, An Unexpected Journey.
Yeah.
Was that it?
Yeah,
yep.
That is the title.
And I really did admire the three Lord of the Rings films.
Okay.
So I'll go on record as saying that. I did enjoy those films. The first Hobbit movie was okay. It was actually good, better than I expected it to be, but not still the level of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the original trilogy in my mind.
Got you.
So I have not seen this latest one yet. I am interested in seeing it. Tell me, Mr. Fry, should I see this film, or is it one of those where it's kind of the middle movie in a trilogy and not a whole lot happens and I could almost skip to the third one and close this thing out?
It all comes down to, I think if you're a fan of fantasy novels or movies, then yeah, you probably want to go see The Hobbit. Mm-hmm. I read the books, a long time ago.
You're one of those reading people.
I am one of those readers. And I saw the original trilogy, and I thought they were a little long in parts, but overall, I was happy to see it because it was something from my childhood. They'd finally taken the time to make movies of it. And I was like, well, okay. They were okay. They weren't my favorites, but they were okay.
You pretty much don't like any film that's over 89 minutes anyway. So.
That can be a problem. That's a warning sign. This one specifically, as we've discussed, I was really cranky that it's the shortest book of all four of the books. If you take the original Lord of the Rings
You're talking about The Hobbit as a whole.
Hobbit,
yeah.
Those four books, the shortest book is The Hobbit, yet they took that and split it up into three movies.
I still don't understand that myself either. But.
Which now we're on the second one.
Right.
So to me, this basically, and I just recently watched the first Hobbit, caught up with it, so I'd be ready for this one. It's basically the same thing. Obviously the story is progressing, but it just seems like it's more of the same. And it's not bad. It's not a bad movie. The acting's fine. Some of the special effects sequences, specifically, there's a spider sequence, and there's a sequence with the dragon Smaug. It's like in his lair per se, and there's all this gold running around. He's kind of like chasing some of the dwarves and Bilbo. It's entertaining, but it's just so long. And I went to see it with my son and my daughter and my wife. And we were walking out, and I was kind of asking him, because my wife and my daughter were just like, eh. Right. They weren't really that into it, which no surprise. But my son, who had been really keen on seeing it, he said, why didn't they just end it? I'm like, that's a very good question.
I mean, he's talking about ending it instead of going on to now a third movie.
Yeah. Because even, he was looking forward to it, but it was so long. Why didn't they just end it?
Yeah.
Because this movie ends right before a very pivotal thing happens, which will probably be solved in the first 5 minutes of the next movie.
Yeah.
So then why do they need a whole nother third movie? So I think,
well, that's been a criticism kind of on this latest trilogy is, again, it taking a shorter book, making it a trilogy, seems like it's just such a cash grab is all it is, where the movie could have been a 3-hour movie and still covered the whole book pretty easily. So it's really been padded. It's really been hyper extended here. And I guess that's my whole issue with it is I really thought the first movie, I enjoyed it, but it could have been a lot shorter.
Right.
So even though I'm not one adverse to long movies, I have no problem with that. I don't like long movies for the sake of just making it a long movie. It needs to be long for a purpose and a reason. I felt like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, they're a little on the indulgent long side, but I enjoyed it for the length it was.
Sure.
It's just they needed to pare it down the same kind of scope to The Hobbit and make it worth, the actual weight of the novel. So
it's not a bad movie. I wouldn't say run out and see it. You could probably wait and see it on Netflix or Redbox. I think the people that really want to see it in a theater are the huge fans. If you're a huge fan of these movies, well, then, you're going to want to see it. You've probably already seen it. But in general, it was just an okay movie.
An okay movie from Chris Fry. All right. Well, like I said, we got a lot to cover, so let's kind of hop right into the next one. Let's talk about Anchorman 2. The legend continues.
In the 70s, they were an elite unit with names like Brick, Champ, Brian, and Ron. They rose like the phoenix, and then they were gone. Their legend became but a whisper, told by the trees, until now.
We're starting a 24-hour news channel, and we want you.
I'm going to do the thing that God put Ron Burgundy on this earth to do. Have salon-quality hair and read the news.
Alan, you went to go see, I believe, a midnight screening of Anchorman 2?
No, it wasn't. Actually, it was a 9 p.m. screening the night before the opening day, which is really strange for our theater to have available. I kind of stumbled across it.
So normally when I make an effort to attend movie screenings like that, it's because of a movie I'm really looking forward to, or I want to see it before it's spoiled for me.
Yes.
So with Anchorman 2, you are a huge fan of the original?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So, knowing that they'd made a sequel, were you scared that they were making a sequel? Or did you feel like it was going to be in good hands? Because it's, basically the same people are involved and they had waited a while?
Yes, on both fronts. I was equally scared and nervous, as well as feeling somewhat confident with the people that were involved in it. I'm glad they waited as long as they did to make the sequel, because it didn't feel like it was just let's rush out and do it. But, honestly, the first Anchorman really didn't do as well in the box office when it first came out. It was not a huge raging success. It's been one of those where just people watching it on DVD, watching it on cable, whatever, now are starting to really appreciate it more and more. And it was one of those films where I saw it in the theater. I really liked Anchorman, but I didn't love it until I'd seen it the third or fourth time on DVD or something.
So did you come out of this movie enjoying it as much as you've been enjoying all the commercials that Ron Burgundy's been doing?
The oversaturation of promotion for this did also have me very, very worried.
Sure.
I can say, though, with confidence that the movie's worth it.
Okay.
I think the movie is extremely funny.
Okay.
I think to some degree it may be a little funnier and better than the first one.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they go incredibly absurd in many places, and it works really nicely. It's a typical Will Ferrell and Adam McKay, I think, is the director. They work together on so many films. And, you look at films like Talladega Nights, the original Anchorman, Step Brother, some of these other ones. There's always that point where the movie drags a little bit.
Sure.
And this one had a few dragging moments as well, but they were short. They were few and far between. For the most part, it was a very, very funny movie. I was watching in a very small theater. These are just people who happened to find out about the early screening and stumbled in there for it.
Okay.
People really ready for this movie, and I think
So it wasn't
a good time was had by
house,
all.
then?
No, it was packed. But
Oh,
it was a very
packed.
small theater. I
Okay,
mean, you only
gotcha.
had 50, 60 seats in it, maybe, or so.
Sure.
But no, it was very, very funny. They did enough callbacks to the original where, it's still the same people, the same characters, the same world. But they didn't rely on repeating everything from the first film, which is what I was always worried about.
It's kind of like the Austin Powers problem.
Exactly. That I knew there was going to be a moment where they were all going to get together and sing Afternoon Delight again. But they didn't. And it was great. It's like, okay, let that be the first movie. You don't have to try to recreate this thing.
Right.
But they did take one element from the first movie, and I'm glad they did, although when it started I was nervous. The big climactic, in this movie, it's more of a climactic battle scene between all the different news teams.
Right.
That happened about midway through the movie in the first one, and it was one of those classic scenes that everybody remembers. Well, it started up in this movie, and immediately when it started, I thought, okay, here they go. They're just going to rehash this. But what they decided to do, which I thought was genius, is take it and ramp it up to 11. I mean, it was just insane what they threw at it. So I think it was more that mentality of, we have to do this, because it's just everybody's going to expect it, but we're just going to make it absolutely insane to the point where people are going to be like, what is going on? And I think that worked really well.
That's a scene that's good to hear, I guess, because that sounds funny. And I didn't see it in the trailer, where something that worried me. I liked the first movie okay. I was curious that they were doing a second one, and I saw some of the trailers, but I've seen so many, and I feel like I've basically seen the movie. Because the shots that I've seen were very funny, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to go see the movie and be bored.
Well, yes, there are some of those points where you've seen it in the trailer, and, if you've seen all the trailers, all the commercials, you have seen a decent little sized chunk of the movie.
Gotcha.
But I will say that the scenes that we see in the trailers are generally longer in the film, and they're more involved. So there's more to it. It's not just the one little scene you're used to seeing. I would just say if that style of humor, the original Anchorman or any of the Will Ferrell comedies, if that's your cup of tea and you really like the first Anchorman movie, I think you're really going to enjoy the second one. It did not suffer from the comedy curse of the sequels.
Okay.
I think it at least matched the first film, if not possibly exceeded it in a lot of ways.
And unlike, The Hangover was kind of something of diminishing returns, whereas I don't know that many people who actually saw the third movie. Would you be interested in seeing an Anchorman 3? Or do you feel like, it was good they waited for a sequel, they've done it, but now I think they've kind of worn
It's got
it
to be
out?
a case-by-case basis. I mean, if they waited another 10 years and, all of a sudden the team's wanting to get back together and it's the same people behind it, sure. I'm sure it could be hilarious and funny. It's more of those that I think you can tell the difference between a comedy sequel when they're doing it because they really want to do it versus doing it because it's a paycheck or cashing off on the immediate success of the first movie, which The Hangover, that's what I saw it as. When that first sequel came out, I mean, it was so quick after The Hangover came out, and then the reviews were not good for it. It just seemed like, let's just get the money in from this while we're still hot.
Right.
Anchorman, supposedly they had a really hard time even getting this second one approved as a sequel. It took all these years of the original building up in popularity to finally get to the point where they could do it. So the fact that they've been working this hard to make this film happen, I think shows on the film as well. So, and I think all the characters had their moment in the sun. Everybody got to be funny, which, sometimes you have a lot of characters in a comedy where they don't get to be funny. You've got your one or two key people that get all the fun lines.
Right.
This movie really spreads it out nicely. All the characters have a lot of fun with it. So highly recommended.
Sounds good.
Well, let's keep on plugging away. This next review is for a film that we have both seen as one of our Film Society screenings. And it is the comedy, romance, drama, Enough Said.
So you're a masseuse?
I am. What is it that you do?
I'm a poet, and I'm a dreamer. No, really,
Oh, you're really a poet?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is Albert.
Hey, how's it going?
My friend Eva was just telling me that there is not one guy at this party that she's attracted to.
What?
It's okay, there's no one here I'm attracted to either.
All right, great.
Some guy you met at the party wants your number.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, did I get the day wrong?
No, why?
Because you're wearing your pajamas?
It's Sunday, I like to be comfortable.
Oh, good.
Enough Said, Nicole Holofcener, which we saw her previous film, which Please Give, was a Footcandle film from a couple of years ago, with this film, she tells the tale of a divorced woman who decides to pursue the man she's interested in, but oops, she learns that he's actually the ex-husband of one of her new clients that she's developed.
Which is not really a spoiler, although it was a little bit of a surprise to people in the theater, but I think even the trailer kind of tips you off to this.
If you've seen the trailer.
Right.
Yeah, and her first film, or the other film I just mentioned, Please Give, had Catherine Keener in it. Catherine Keener is in this one as well, but the two leads are Elaine Bennis and Tony Soprano. Oh, I'm sorry. No. James Gandolfini and Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Alan, going into this film, one of my things that was in the back of my mind, which probably for most people, I was wondering, okay, the body of work that I know from James Gandolfini is mainly The Sopranos.
Yes.
And with Elaine Bennis. With Julia Louis-Dreyfus, same thing. It was like, I know her from Seinfeld.
They both have their iconic roles.
Right. And, it's not their fault. They had huge success with it. They did well. But going into this movie, I'm like, am I going to see anything different from them? Or am I going to be able to forget that it's Tony Soprano up there or Elaine Bennis? Am I going to... Before I answer did you have that problem and were you able to overcome it?
Not as much with James Gandolfini.
Okay.
I think he's able to get past the Tony Soprano bit a little better, just in the character he played. I didn't think Tony Soprano more than the first few seconds when I saw him. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, she's really good in this movie. I'll give her that.
Okay.
She's still a little bit of Elaine Bennis in the movie. I think just a little bit. I think she's still got a little bit of that neurotic sense to her and a little hyperactivity sometimes. So that was a little tougher for me to see removed. I still saw Elaine sometimes throughout the film.
Okay.
Not that that's a bad thing. I like Elaine Bennis as a character as well, but I think that was a little harder to separate on her than it was with him.
Okay. So. Well, for me, I was able to overcome it, and I was really surprised. I've seen Gandolfini in other things, but nothing is... I don't know, the other things where he played similar type characters.
Right.
And in this, he played something just completely different.
A little schlubby, a little homely.
And not menacing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was the biggest thing. Is
not at all.
His other roles, even though maybe he hasn't been a mob person, he's been like a hitman or he's been a heavy in some sense. This, he was just a guy. Yeah, he was a schlubby, just normal, average guy. Nothing special about him. And the way that he was able to portray that, and actually you felt sorry for him at some points, and I was just really impressed with his acting. And actually, I mean, I guess you could say I saw hints of Elaine, but I was surprised, like, the characters of Seinfeld, the one that Elaine specifically, she was always kind of sarcastic and biting and very kind of self-centered.
Yeah, well,
and
sure.
And in this movie, the character she plays, I felt like she was very different, and she was always, I don't know, just a different tone to the comedy that she was doing.
Sure. Yeah, I can see that.
So
well,
just
overall,
really, I was surprised.
Did you enjoy the movie?
I did. And I thought it was the perfect, it was like, it wasn't 200 minutes or whatever. It was the perfect length. And even though in the trailer they had shown kind of like, you assume it's the big comedic moment of, the discovery of, wait a second, your ex-wife is my client. Our new romance isn't going to work out. I felt they handled that rather well, and it didn't detract from the movie. And I was kind of impressed because a bigger comedy, a Hollywood comedy, that would have been what the entire movie was built around, and it would have played it more for laughs or not been as effective. But I really think that it was, scripted and acted really well, and it just showed what I felt like was a very accurate portrayal of real-life people. But instead of being like a mumble done by like the Duplass brothers or something, the writing was a lot airier and it was a lot funnier, but yet it still had a real life slant to it. So I really liked it.
Well, good. I enjoyed it as well. Yeah, I'd say I didn't love it, but I definitely enjoyed it, appreciated it. A couple things about it just still kind of rubbed me a little wrong.
What are some of those?
Well, I did feel like that when we got to the point of the reveal of, the fact that her new boyfriend is the ex-husband of like her new friend and client, and she gets, at that moment, it does start to become very sitcom-y, where You just want to like reach out and strangle her and say, why don't you just tell them, oh, I just found this out, and play it off, and you can still be dumb about it, but at least you come clean.
Right.
Instead of what she has to resort to, which is sometimes hiding behind bushes to not be seen by somebody else. And at that point, it was for like a 20-minute block of time in the middle of the movie. It's like, oh, just a little groaning having to happen there, wishing that the movie didn't have to go down that path. Because I was enjoying it for what it was, which is really watching two more mature characters rekindle a new friendship and a new relationship,
right,
knowing that there are some external obstacles pushing against them. Her having a friendship where she's learning things about her new boyfriend that, you know, are from the mouth of an ex-wife of that guy. And it does play up an interesting situation. I think the movie was interesting enough without having to do the whole, she's having to kind of play this part between two characters so that they don't find out that she knows one another. And that was a little irritating. But other than that, I mean, other than the fact that the movie is generally a very slight movie, you know, not that there's any fault with that. I mean, It's a very simple movie. There's not a lot of high stakes to it. I mean, it's very, very simple. But what I did like about it, even in the simplicity of it, is it had a lot to say about how we perceive and base opinions of people based on other people's opinions.
Right.
And, you know, how you can form something of an opinion of somebody from just an outward movement or something you hear as a rumor or something you hear hearsay, and how that does shape your opinion of that person. And it can actually affect our relationships as people. That, I think, is the interesting side of the bigger picture of the film. Even to the point where we have an example where the main character, Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character, is a masseuse.
Right.
And the running gag behind them throughout the film is that she's got this one client that, you know, she has to lug her whole massage table up these big flight of stairs while the guy is basically sitting up there and knows that she's coming up the stairs but never offers to help her.
Sure.
And that's kind of her ongoing, I can't believe this guy, I can't believe this guy. He's so self-centered, he's so selfish, he doesn't come out and help. And what happens at the end is she basically gets up the nerve to actually say to him, hey, can you come help me? And when she calls him on it, he is so mortified that he hadn't been helping her all this time.
Sure.
So embarrassed, bending over backwards to help her. So basically, it's like her impression of him being this selfish, self-centered guy is just based on this one action, where when you really break it down and get to know the guy, no, he's not selfish. He just was thoughtless about it, and it wasn't a bad thing. He just never thought about it.
Sure.
Kind of the same idea goes with what she learns about her ex-husband, or about her new boyfriend from the ex-wife. You hear these things, and how much weight do you put into it? How much do you let it judge who that person is, hearing from somebody else?
Right.
So it's an interesting message couched in a very simple, sweet film. I wish it didn't do the sitcom bit in the middle and try to be a little more outrageous with that. But otherwise, I thought the performances were great. I thought the film was fun. I liked the way it ended. Yeah. I think it had a nice, good, solid ending that wasn't over the top, wasn't too Hollywood. It ended where it needed to end.
Sure.
And I always like a movie that can nail the ending. So
I wasn't as bothered, I guess, by what you're mentioning, kind of that sitcom portion. I didn't feel it was, I don't know, I guess because Julia Louis-Dreyfus playing Eva, I didn't feel like her character was so sitcom the rest of the time. It didn't bother me. But I can see that criticism. I want to ask you, though, if I had to say something I disliked about the film, it would be Catherine Keener's portrayal of the ex-wife. Not her portrayal, I don't think it's her fault, but how the ex-wife character was written.
Right, okay.
And I felt like it was too stereotypical and made her out just to be kind of the quote-unquote bad guy. And I thought that a more nuanced script would have
nice, big, fat, happy one.
Things. And it's some of the comedies in that, but somehow give her a little bit of a sympathetic side. And instead, I felt like all they did was demonize her.
Well, they gave her one line that I thought was sympathetic, where when she started kind of unloading on her ex-husband and just talking trash about him to Eva, at one point she stops and she says, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to do this. It's just I really needed somebody to talk to.
Right. That's true.
And to me, that line saved her character a little bit, and basically saying, yeah, okay. Yeah, she's every time you hear her talk about her ex-husband, she's very down on him. She's very mean and critical.
Right.
But yet you kind of get this idea that maybe he wasn't the best husband in the world, and maybe she really did have a lot of pent-up frustrations, and she just has not had an opportunity to voice them to somebody.
Right.
Sometimes you need that friend just to vent to. So that saved the character a little bit, but I do agree, and it kind of played into my criticism of the sitcom side,
okay,
because she's playing the typical bad character who's kind of feeding this whole sitcom situation. That I didn't like either, but it did save me with that line of dialogue in the script there.
Well, and balancing that, I thought the portrayal of Eva's ex-husband, because he's in the film a little bit, and they go out. She has to go to a dinner with him and their daughter that's going off to college. I thought he was a lot more balanced.
Well, he's more of a real character, than I think maybe Catherine Keener's character was.
Sure.
So, no, I think it was a good, solid film. I really enjoyed it. Enjoyed it more than I thought I would. It was a nice little surprise, and I think to take two primarily known TV actors and put them into a motion picture role, they both played it off and performed extremely well. I really enjoyed watching them on screen together. They had really good chemistry.
Agreed.
It's a shame, James Gandolfini is one of his last films, so it was a shame in a way to watch this and see how much fun he was to watch and think, well, that we won't see that anymore.
Agreed.
So unfortunately,
yeah, because I would have liked to see what his next couple. Now that he has this kind of role, so.
It's a real shame. But enough said. But that's getting a thumbs up from both of us.
Enough
That's very
said
nice.
on enough said.
Enough said on enough said. Let's wrap up with our last current review of the film Philomena.
They said that you had abandoned him as a baby.
I did not abandon my child. You'll be 50 today. Who is it?
Your wife tells me you think you're mildly depressed.
Well, I got the sack. I'm unemployed.
Yes, but it wasn't your fault, was it?
That's why I'm depressed.
I know this woman. She had a baby when she was a teenager, and she's kept it secret for 50 years.
And what you're talking about would be what they call a human interest story. And I don't do those.
Why not?
You think I should do a human interest story?
Chris, the film Philomena. Here's everything I know about it. It stars Judi Dench and what's the funny guy from Steve Coogan. That's all I know. What else should I know about this film?
Well, okay, the film is about a woman who grows up in, I think, Ireland, Scotland. I'm horrible with the countries. But anyways, she has her child taken away from her.
Okay.
Well, she agrees. She basically she goes to like a convent, and they help her birth the child. But then it's like, okay, she's an unwed mother, and she gives the child up and is not allowed to have any contact with it.
I see.
Okay, flash forward numerous years later, Steve Coogan plays a journalist who has kind of had problems in the press and stuff, and so he then kind of exiles himself and starts to kind of write a book, or stumbles on this story and starts to write a book. The chemistry between Judi Dench and Steve Coogan as far as playing off one another is awesome.
Really?
And I think it's one of the best things Steve Coogan's done because it's and he was a writer on the script, so I think you can probably tell that. But it allows him to be funny because I think he's a really funny guy. It allows him to be funny, but also have growth as a character because he's this woman at first comes across as being kind of stupid, actually, and kind of like airheaded, not all with it, because she is older and he's just kind of using her at first as kind of a story. But he really develops a relationship with her as far as being sympathetic to what she's gone through and ends up coming to America with her and trying to find her son. And it's just really interesting, the story arc that it takes. And at the end of the movie, I was actually impressed with the effect of, I'm not sure whether she learned, usually in these type pictures, both characters learn something from each other. And that's just a very stereotypical. But in this one, it seemed like, which is refreshing, I don't think learned anything from him. Absolutely nothing. But he learned so much from her. Okay. And it was just really, it was really kind of neat. And actually the other thing too is, obviously it says at the beginning of the movie, based on a true story. And then at the end kind of does throw up some facts about things that happened. What was really cool is afterwards, I looked up some stuff because I was like, I wonder if that aspect of this is true, because I could see how that would just be added. A lot of the surprises and things were actual things that did happen.
Oh, good. Not just added for dramatic effect.
Because I know we've talked about in the past movies that just kind of throw stuff in there that's not really true. Like The Butler had that problem. Yeah. And
so did the Sapphires.
Right. The Sapphires. And then Talk to Me from a long time ago with Casey Lemons, like about the DJ guy. And like that, so much stuff was inaccurate. From what I could tell, a lot of this stuff was the way it really happened.
That's
so that
good.
was
That's
really
refreshing.
cool and really satisfying because you kind of, you go into a movie and you want to like the movie, but then when you find out stuff's not exactly on the bean. You're like, oh man. So I was pleased that a lot of this, and I would encourage people. It's kind of like what you said with Enough Said. It's a smaller scale movie. It's not some big, huge movie that's trying to prove all these points, but it does talk about mother and family and what that means. And so it's a nice small movie, and the performances of Coogan and Dench, I would definitely say, are worth checking out.
Great,
so.
Good. Well, I'm intrigued now. So, wow, we just ran through 4 films. Which let me just recap here for the audience: 4 films, which all of them are getting at least a pass, if not positive, strong reviews. Hobbit, you're saying, is a fine film.
Sure,
okay. It's fine. So passable. Pass from Chris Fry. Anchorman 2, I'm giving a big yes. Absolutely. Very funny. Enjoyed it immensely. Enough Said, we both also enjoyed. Thought was a really good, solid film. Philomena, you enjoyed, giving a good, strong advocate rating for that as well. So several films out there still in theaters to check out now if you're so inclined. And if you have any thoughts or feedback on any of these 4 films, things that we got right, things we got wrong, things you want to argue with us about, hey, bring it on. We're ready for you. You can reach out to us by going to themesh.tv. That's the website where you can find all of the Mesh programs, including this one, Footcandle Films. There's a nice contact us button on that page. You can drop us a note through that website and let us know what you thought of the reviews, or if you have any thoughts of your own. When we come back, let's do our discussion of It's a Wonderful Life, and then we'll close out the show with our year in review. All of our awards or titles or whatever you want to call them, we're going to dish out to the films we saw this year. So stay tuned. You're listening to Footcandle Films. We'll be right back.
We'll get back to your show in a moment. Just a reminder, you're listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Find out more at themesh.tv and give us feedback on what you like. And now, as promised, back to your show.
Welcome back to Footcandle Films, our year-end extravaganza. We just knocked out 4 quick reviews for you at the first half of the show. And here we are to continue our show. We've got something a little special, a little fun that we do. I think we did this with Psycho last year, if I remember correctly.
Exactly.
We took a holiday film that we wanted to kind of readdress and see with a fresh set of eyes, and talked about it a little bit, what our thoughts were after the screening. Well, last night we had a screening of the holiday classic, It's a Wonderful Life. So, Chris, take it away. Where we want to go with this?
Well, It's a Wonderful Life. It came out in 1946. So, it came out a while ago.
Yeah.
I've seen, it aired on TV. It's like almost every year since then. It airs on TV a lot. Lots of people have seen it. It's a well-beloved film. It made, I think, Time's top 10 films of American films of all time.
Right.
I'd seen this film before. Alan, you had not.
I had not. This is, I keep a list of films that I'm embarrassed to say I've never seen. And this was on the list, pretty high on the list as well.
And it's from a director who you've seen other bits of his work, Frank Capra, correct?
Yes, I have. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's kind of he's a big name. How, considering all the baggage that comes with going to see this film for the first time, a lot of people hype it up, a lot of people talk about it. It is, a lot of people's favorite Christmas movie, holiday movie. How were you able to come to this film with a kind of a fresh, clean slate, or were you? And how did you come away?
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to come to it with a clean slate. I mean, it's just when you have a film that's as beloved as this one and has been talked about for years and is on TV all the time, considered one of the best holiday films, blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
It's tough to not come into it with some preconceived notions and expectations.
Right.
I will say, for those preconceived notions and expectations, I was a little let down.
Really?
Yeah. And that's my own fault. I mean, it's a good film. I understand people's love of the film, but for me coming into it, some things about it kind of surprised me from the storytelling side of things that I didn't expect. And I think that may have hampered my enjoyment just a little bit.
Really? Okay. What were some of them?
Well, I think I was kind of coming into this thinking that a majority of this film was going to be dealing with George's possible decision to kill himself and the whole what would life be like without him around.
Right.
Which that happens, but it's the last 20 minutes of the film, which still kind of just surprised me that we had an hour and a half buildup of watch a guy's life that starts up here and gets whittled down to this low point for him.
Sure.
So it was almost like an hour and a half of watching, kind of grueling in a way, watching this character's life kind of start to dissolve around him, and not from any bad decisions he's making. He's a good person. It's just bad things are happening to him and around him.
Right.
So that was a little off-putting for me. I mean, it did not make it a bad film at all. It's just, I kept thinking the whole time, I was like, okay, I know that they're going to get to a point where these angels that we meet at the beginning are going to do something to help them see a better life. And
right.
It's just, it kind of surprised me. It took all the way to almost the last 20 minutes for any of that stuff to click in. And then it just kind of went at a really fast pace.
Sure.
It's like, okay, now let's show you what life would be like if you weren't around. And it's quick hits. It's like a short 10, 15 minute sequence of that. And then all of a sudden he's back and he's happy and he's enjoying life again. So that whole ending was a lot more rushed than I expected it to be after all the build up.
Well, and I had seen this film once, but it was a while ago, like probably when I was in middle school. So it was a long time ago, at least 20 years ago. And when I saw it on TV.
Okay.
So I think when they showed on TV, they do cut a lot of things out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was surprised watching it now how much like alcohol and drinking was in the film. Because this was made in 1946.
Yeah.
And, and it's billed all the time as like a family film and people get together and watch it for Christmas. And there's a lot of drinking and problems that happen. Like he runs a car into a tree.
Yeah.
And it's just really surprising to me. And my son watched the film last night with us and he commented to me afterwards. He's like, I liked it, but the guy was awfully mad most of the time. Like almost all the movie he was when I was like, well, yeah, he did have a lot of, like you referenced, a lot of things happened to him that just kept knocking him down. But he liked the ending when he was like running through the snow and was like,
well, yeah,
and he was
that's
all
the
happy.
classic thing, yeah.
So, but it was surprising to me reflecting on it as an adult and looking back at it that I like the movie okay. I'm kind of in the same boat with you, but what surprises me is how it's hailed as this holiday classic where basically it's like, and it's a long movie. It's
it's 2 hours, 10 minutes.
And so it's like an hour and a half or hour and 45 minutes of this guy just being miserable.
Yeah.
It's like watching Job from the Bible keep having all these horrible things happen.
And the whole middle 30 minutes, like, he becomes a deplorable character to some degree, not because of anything he's doing. It's just, he's just getting beaten down by life.
Right.
I mean, he's yelling at his kids. He's yelling at his wife. Even when he starts to court his wife, there's a moment where he is just so downtrodden. He's being very verbally abusive to her and mean inside her house. And that was kind of surprising too. Granted, it doesn't make us like his character less necessarily. And in a way, I did admire it that they were able to show us a full-fledged human being that was both happy-go-lucky one moment and then really down on himself in life the next. That's good. There's no sugarcoating to it.
Right.
It's just the theatricalness of some of those more bad scenes where he's being more vocal and loud. And it was almost a little too theatrical, over the top, where you wouldn't expect two human beings to talk this way in each other in real life.
Sure.
Like he did to his then dating somebody he was interested in. And when he was really getting upset, he was talking very, very demeaning to her. It's just not something I saw as natural. So it was just some things that just didn't work for me as well in that middle section of the film. But I know that they had to get us to that point where we wanted to see him crawl back up.
Right.
And you kind of got to get him as low as possible for that ending to really work as well as it does. So it was a bit of a surprising movie for me. I respected and enjoyed it. I didn't love it. Not going to put it up there as one of my favorite films of all time.
Sure.
But I did see how some people could really grab a hold of it. I was just surprised that it took as long as it did to get to this whole motif of what would be life without George Bailey in it.
Right.
Which I thought going in was going to be a majority of the film.
Yeah, it seems like that would be he kind of, in a film done nowadays, he would have his rough patch in the first 20 minutes of the film. Then he would have that. And then for the whole rest of the film, he would be learning how it's like, it is kind of a switch up of what you would expect.
Yeah. So. But I will say Jimmy Stewart, still really love watching Jimmy Stewart on screen. I think I said this last night. I can't think of an actor we have today that is honestly as just enjoyable to watch.
I was actually thinking about the same thing. I think George Clooney might be close for me.
Yeah, close. And I mean, to some degree, Tom Hanks, I think, can play the the good guy that you really just generally want to root for and enjoy seeing. But neither one is Jimmy Stewart yet.
Yes, I would agree.
I think he was one of a kind, and just he was just so effortless on screen. He played the affable guy, he played the cranky guy, he played everything in between just so easily.
It's true.
So, and he does a mean Charleston too. I'll say that. So,
Donna Reed, who I'd heard her name before, and I know she had like a little black and white sitcom thing that used to run on Nick at Night when I was little, and I saw some of that, but I'd never really focused on her because when I saw it as a kid, I didn't really think about it.
Sure.
But I thought she was really good.
Yeah.
She plays his girlfriend at first and then ends up being wife. Yeah. So, I thought she was nice.
I definitely don't want to come across as down on it because, it's a good film. I understand the appeal. It was a little overhyped for me. It's one of the problems of somebody like me watching a classic film this late in my life is I've already got all these expectations built into it. It didn't quite meet the expectations I had built up for me, but I still saw it as a good film.
I understand.
Yeah. Good. Okay, Chris.
Yes.
It's that time.
Okay. Drum roll.
We have completed the year 2013. As we record this on December 20th, we are days away from a brand new year.
It's true.
So what better way, what kind of film show would we be if we didn't do the obligatory look back at the past year and talk about highlights and lowlights and everything in between?
Right.
So let's do that.
Okay.
Chris, we have some categories created. Let's go through these categories one at a time, and you and I can both give our picks for those categories.
Okay.
Who wants to start us off? We got our first category here. You want to start off that first one?
Sure. So, favorite movie theater going experience of 2013. So, we're not talking about necessarily, it could be just, something looked really good on screen and that made it for you, or just the crowd you were with or something. So, it can be more than just the movie itself, kind of like the total experience of going out to a movie theater and seeing a movie theater. What would that be for you, Alan?
Mine's going to be a little bit of a cheat because it was a film experience that happened in 2013, even though it was a 2012 film.
Oh, okay.
Does that count? Can I do that?
Sure.
I've got to say my favorite film experience from this calendar year, me sitting in a theater, had to be our Footcandle film screening of Searching for Sugar Man.
Huh.
Okay. Because this is a film, we talked about it on the show earlier in the year when we saw it. This is a film that does have, if you hadn't read up about the film or hadn't seen it, it does have a revelation about halfway through the film that really turns the documentary on its side a little bit more, turns it into a different documentary than you thought maybe you were going to watch. Mm-hmm. And watching this in a very full crowd theater of our Film Society members and everybody, not only the ahs and the gasp when we kind of realize where the documentary is going for the latter half of it, but even just the music towards the end that we get to see some performances, everybody in the theater really digging the film, really enjoying it. To me, the walking out of that theater, everybody had smiles on their faces. Everybody really enjoyed the experience. Really were amazed with where the documentary took them. To me, that was just, I still look back on the year and say that was a fun screening back in February of this year.
Okay. Well, mine's kind of completely different.
Okay.
But it's a more recent film. We reviewed it a couple of shows ago, maybe. But it was when I went to go see Frozen.
Okay.
The newer Disney movie.
Yeah.
And the reasoning behind that was I actually got to go opening night, which was kind of cool. And it was a packed theater. And being able to see a Disney animated movie with my kids in the theater. And it was kind of a return to like a really good Disney movie.
Yeah, I can see that being a
with
good
the songs
experience.
and everything. So that was kind of neat because it reminded me of like going to see Beauty and the Beast or Aladdin. Plus it was a decent movie. So
I can see that being cool because that's true. In the time that you and I have had kids, Disney films have not been the event that they used to be back in the 80s and 90s.
Right. Yeah,
so that's kind of cool.
I think the last one that I really responded to as strongly, but it was not a musical one, was WALL-E. When I went and saw that one, I really, really liked that one. But that would probably be the lack. So Frozen was mine.
Oh, great. Oh boy, I get to introduce this topic. This is fun. All right. Not that we want to like pile on films necessarily, but we have to, as a film show, talk about what was the worst film we believe, in our personal opinions, of 2013.
Right.
Chris, what have you got, man? And I want to see if you and I are on the same page.
Oh, we're not. And I know we're not because you liked this film.
Oh boy.
And I did not.
Oh boy.
For me, and it just worst film or worst movie for me of 2013 was This Is the End.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was the comedy, that had Seth Rogen and James Franco and Danny McBride and, cast of other people.
Worst film of the year.
And I just really, purpose of a comedy is to make me laugh. And I think it maybe made me laugh once or twice, but considering I was in the theater for a lot longer than 15 minutes, I wanted more out of it. And I just thought it had so much potential because of the people involved that actually it would be kind of my nightmare for what would happen with Anchorman 2 is I go in and I'm kind of like, ha ha, and then I sit there for another hour and a half and I'm bored. And this is the end. I was bored.
Interesting.
So yeah, that
I did enjoy the movie. I thought it was funny. So.
No.
Wow.
Not for me.
Well, you said you laughed once during that film. My worst movie of 2013, I laughed more than once, but it was not an intentional laugh that the movie was going for.
Okay.
I will say After Earth was the worst film I saw this year.
I can't argue with it. It was bad.
It was bad. And it was just, on the surface, I think if it didn't have the pedigree of people behind it, if this was like a sci-fi movie coming on cable channel, it would have been okay. I wouldn't have been that disappointed and frustrated by it. But the fact that it's Will Smith, the whole M. Night Shyamalan thing, which we've talked about in long discussions about his career in general.
Sure.
That you just blend it together. I think Will Smith in general is what surprised me the most, is that this was a Will Smith supposedly blockbuster film coming out, and it was really not good.
Right.
It was hokey. It was over the top in some places. It didn't make logical sense in other places. It just continues the downward slide of Shyamalan and really put a black eye on Will Smith with regards to sci-fi and action movies going forward, I think. Right. So to me, that was probably the worst. I have to ask, just because this is such a juicy subject here, did you have a runner-up by chance of worst movie?
It would have been After Earth.
Yeah, After Earth would have been your runner-up.
And it's all about expectations, which we hammered that out before on the show. But After Earth, I kind of knew going in that it wasn't, whereas This Is the End had a really high rating. I'd heard a lot of people say they like it, and I feel like I'm one of the few people who's actually like, no, I didn't. It did not work for me. I didn't like. So that kind of pushed me to do more of that because I wanted to be different.
No,
but,
that's fine.
No, but yeah, After Earth, definitely, I would not bother seeing it.
Well, you see, you and I are reversed because my runner-up is a film that you did like, and I did not at all, which was A Glimpse Inside the Mind of Charles Swan III. I really didn't like this film. There were at least a few moments in it that made it worth sitting through for me, but otherwise I could have done without this film. Just a narcissistic Wes Anderson wannabe film. I was not impressed with it at all.
Right.
The other quick ones I'll just throw in there. Sure. I don't even remember the name of the Lindsay Lohan film that I mentioned.
The Canyons.
The Canyons. Ugh, that was bad. And then
you warned me off of that.
And then Disney's Planes was a really bad kids cartoon.
Which I saw they were making a sequel of it.
Of course they are. It's probably direct to video or on demand.
I think it might be in theater. I don't know.
It was a bad film. So anyway. Okay, next category.
Next category we have is the a handkerchief moment of 2013. So basically,
so you mean the thing that really brought a little tears to our eyes, a little misty eyed in the theater there. So.
Maybe had to kind of blink them back or something like that. So, I mean, that's assuming you had a handkerchief moment of 2013.
Oh, I had a moment where I really felt tears in my eyes at the end of the film, and it was Man of Steel, but not because it did anything to earn it. It's just because I realized how bad I really was disappointed by that film.
Okay, fair enough.
I do have a serious one though.
Okay.
The Spectacular Now.
Oh, man. I wonder if you're going to choose the same one. Go for it.
Well, I didn't really have a particular scene. I think the whole last 20, 30 minutes of the film got me. I think between something that happens a little more on the tragic side with the girlfriend, I think a discussion between the son and the boy, the lead character, and his mother.
Okay.
There are a lot of scenes kind of blended together in a whole 20, 30-minute spiel that kind of got me very emotional.
Okay, see, I'm surprised because I remember us discussing the movie. We both liked it, but I remember being a lot more like...
You were definitely more enthusiastic about it. I was a little less... I still enjoyed it, though.
Sure.
And I will say that it still had some of the best tear-jerking moments I saw this year.
And I felt like they were authentic. I'll say the one for me that I can narrow in on that was the scene in which... Miles Teller quits his job and the conversation he has with his boss.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
With
That
Bob
was really
Odenkirk.
good.
Yeah,
that was
man,
really good.
I get chills just sitting here thinking about it. So that scene, the line that he delivers to him, I wouldn't be here I wouldn't have this problem if you were my dad. Like that was
You're right.
devastating.
No, actually, you got me. That was the line right there.
Yeah.
Very
It's
cool.
good stuff.
Yep. Was that your moment as well?
Yeah. So it was
we
from
were on the same
Spectacular
page
Now,
with
and it
this
was
one.
the quitting scene. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
The next one, I love this category because I appreciate you bringing this up, Chris, for us to go through the U-Turn movie of 2013.
Okay.
So this idea is that this is a movie where we went in with one set of expectations and it got completely turned around by the end of the film.
Yep.
Either we go in thinking we're going to hate the film and we end up loving it, or we think we're going to love the film and we end up hating it.
Yep.
So, Chris, what is yours?
Okay, I've got two.
I do too.
I have one that fits in. Okay, the movie that I went in thinking would be a piece of garbage,
Mm-hmm.
and I walked out being like, "Oh, that's pretty good." The Lone Ranger.
Same here.
Oh, really?
Yep,
Okay.
same
and
here.
it's just the previews just made it look so ridiculous, and Johnny Depp doing his shtick and stuff, but. I liked it.
I actually, the kids and I are going to watch it tonight.
Oh, wow.
That's our plan for tonight.
Awesome.
Because I actually enjoyed the movie. I think maybe going in with so much hate that you heard about this film kind of let you see past some of the stuff and just enjoy it as a fun flick. So
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
Agreed.
I kind of had the Wolverine as kind of a runner-up on that same side of the category where I really didn't expect it to be that good, and it was a lot better than I expected.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, what about on the flip side, one where you went in with expecting it to be good and were really disappointed?
Sadly enough, my one that falls into that category is computer chess.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that and just
And,
not really enjoying it as
a lot of
much.
people hype it up. It's kind of it's a faux documentary that takes place in the 80s, and it's supposed to be like this computer chess tournament out in California, and they shoot on, I guess, is it high 8 cameras or whatever to give it that authentic feel, and it's supposed to be a comedy, but it just did not work for me at all. The style of shooting on the old cameras and the acting, I guess you could say they were playing normal people, but it was just like, to me, it was just bad acting.
Wow.
And not bad acting on purpose, just bad acting.
So do you think it's getting a lot of acclaim just because
It's
the format
indie,
and the
yeah.
style of it, but really at its core, you didn't think it was a really good movie?
No, and I didn't laugh that many times. It did not work for me. And there again, I feel like a lone wolf in this category because a lot of the stuff I've read is all positive on it. So if you ever catch up with it, I'd be interested on your take.
I've got it queued up to watch at some
Okay.
point, so we'll have to swap notes on that and see.
All righty.
Well, the one I went in with high expectations but walked around extremely disappointed was Man of Steel. I mean, that you could have predicted that one from a mile away.
Sure.
I only bring it up every other episode, I think, while we record.
I bring up Prometheus. You bring up.
Yeah, I really wanted this film to be good. I really wanted it. It had all the right elements. It had all the right pieces. It just didn't work for me at all. It was not the worst film of the year. I mean, I will see the film again at some point.
Okay. And maybe you'll like it a little more.
Maybe, but it was just that experience of walking out of the theater and just being so downtrodden by it. That's, I guess, the whole U-turn we're talking about here.
Okay.
My only runner-up to that film, To the Wonder, the Terrence Malick film.
Right.
Went in with very high expectations because of how much I love Tree of Life. And I've sat through this thing. I admired the visuals. I admired the cinematography, but nothing else really worked for me that well with the film. So,
Okay. Well, for the next category, we have favorite use of music in 2013. Alan, do you have a specific example you can call out for that?
I think I'm cheating on both of these because I think both of these were 2012 films, maybe.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, but as far as ones I saw in 2013, I'm going to say Searching for Sugar Man. I already talked about.
Sure.
I think, again, it's a documentary about a musician, so music is obviously a huge part of it.
Sure.
And I think that worked really, really well, the way they wove in his songs to help tell his story throughout the documentary.
Got you.
So that's more of that prominent music. And then I was going to say, as a kind of a runner-up, more of the incidental music, Much Ado About Nothing.
Really?
Its use of more kind of contemporary jazz and just helped really move the film along and kind of kept it very light and breezy and just a lot of fun with that. How about you?
For me, it was, and we talked about it on the last episode, the music of 12 Years a Slave. I really appreciated how that, because it used like violin type stuff, but was I don't know if quirky is the right word for it, but it was just odd, but yet it didn't totally take you out of the movie. So
it didn't follow the classic, this is an Oscar movie and we're going to have the string swelling and orchestra so well tuned. It was much more like you just heard somebody kind of playing an instrument,
right?
And a little more natural sounding to it. So
exactly.
Good. Okay, well, let's talk about the big categories. We got a few here just to kind of wrap up our year-end review. We want to talk about favorite male performance of 2013, and we are saying this can be a lead or a supporting or a cameo or anything. Who, from a male perspective, you think really knocked it out of the park this year?
Well, and a lot of it, unfortunately, because you see so much at the end of the year, and things start to kind of blur together. But I'm going to say, we already talked about it a little bit, James Gandolfini from Enough Said.
Wow.
He actually is going to, and it's just because, admittedly, I really thought he was going to do Tony Soprano. I mean, I give him credit for more than that.
So it was both a surprise, but also you think he turned in a really good performance.
Yeah, I think it was a surprise, but then I was just like, I thought it was a good performance on its own. So I guess those two, and it's a recently seen movie for me. But and unfortunately, it's kind of one of his last performances. So
sad.
I think all that combined really made me respect it.
Cool. So. Mine, Matthew McConaughey in Mud. I really, really liked his performance in this film. Not only from his physicality, I think just his mannerisms that he put in, but just really delivering on the scenes he needed to deliver in. I think it was a great film, and I think he knocked it out of the park. It's the best thing I've seen him do. I do have 3 runners up. Can I just rattle them off really quick, please?
Sure.
Michael Fassbender, 12 Years a Slave.
Okay.
Both Paul Rudd and Emile Hirsch in Prince Avalanche.
Okay.
And Daniel Bruhl in Rush.
Oh.
Really liked his performance as the competing race car driver against Thor in the movie Rush.
Against Thor.
Yeah. He fought and almost beat Thor. I mean, it was amazing.
I'll throw one out there since I haven't had a lot of double ups. I'll say Sam Rockwell from The Way, Way Back.
Oh, I never saw that.
It's worth catching up on.
Okay.
And I really liked his performance in that. I like him anyway, a lot as an actor. But that's his performance in there was really good and kind of reminded me why I like him so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, the next one we have is to, equal rights here. Your favorite female performance from 2013, Alan?
I hate saying this, but this was a lot tougher. And, I hate saying that because I'm not saying that, female performances weren't as strong, but unfortunately they didn't have as many showy parts this year, I don't think, for the females.
Really?
I didn't think so as they did for the males.
Huh.
That's just my...
Because actually I had trouble coming up with a favorite male performance.
Really?
Actually. Yeah, it was
Wow.
kind of weird. A lot of female performances strung to mind, but...
Interesting. The females I had to really search through to find good, juicy roles that I think really qualify for this. But I will say the number one for me, and this is a film I know I didn't just rave about when we reviewed, and we've already talked about it a few minutes ago, Shailene Woodley in The Spectacular Now.
Okay.
She was my favorite female performance of the year. I mean, we talked about it during our review that she just was so natural and just... you wanted that girl to be your girlfriend back in high school. No doubt about it.
Yeah. She really anchored the movie for sure.
She did. Yep. What about you?
Mine's going to be, I had thought about her. She's definitely a runner up, but mine's going to be Greta Gerwig from Frances Ha.
Another film I did not see.
That movie kind of, it hinges on her. She's like on screen all the time. It hinges on her, her experiences in life. And I really enjoyed it. And it was also kind of a discovery. I'd heard the name Greta Gerwig. I think I've seen her in some stuff before, but I'd never really thought about her. And now it's like, okay, she's somebody I consider to be awesome.
I've got 2 runners up.
Okay.
I will say Julia Louis-Dreyfus for Enough Said.
Okay.
I thought a very, very good performance.
All right.
Kristen Scott Thomas in Only God Forgives.
Huh. Wow,
okay, I'm just saying
kind of
the movie had some issues for me. We had a really, really interesting discussion about this film months ago during our podcast, but I will say she was
performance.
Absolutely terrifying in that film.
And what's cool is you don't think of her as that kind of character. So yeah, you're right. That was a very strong,
I thought she
interesting
was really
performance.
good in that movie.
You're right. I'd totally forgotten about that one.
All right, we're getting close to the end here, but I think this is a fun category to pick out. The Paycheck Performer of the Year.
Yes.
What we mean by that is somebody that you saw in a film where you really felt like they were just dialing it in. They were just phoning it in. They're doing it for the money, and that's all there was to it. So, Chris, who is your Paycheck Performer of the Year?
Okay, my nominee for Paycheck Performer of the Year and who is Morgan Freeman. I like Morgan Freeman, but Oblivion... Now you see me,
for a series
White House
of movies.
Down.
Oh, I see. You went for the whole body of work in 2013.
2013, I'm like, he's just doing paychecks. And
You're right.
Oblivion, Now You See Me in White House. I did not see White House Down, okay? I will say that. So, but based on the work
he could have been awesome in White House Down. You don't know.
He could have been. Somehow, I don't think so. But I did see Oblivion, and I did see Now You See Me. And both of those movies, just like, he's just...
You got a good point there. I could see that with him.
I like Morgan Freeman. I mean, he was in Shawshank Redemption, but yeah.
But for a year's body of work, it did seem to be very slight performances and very one-note performances. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Oh, mine's going to upset some people out there.
Oh, yeah? Awesome.
But I don't care. I'm sorry. Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man 3.
Ooh,
ouch. I was one of those that did not think Iron Man 3 was that great.
Okay.
I thought it was okay. But Robert Downey Jr. is just, he's doing the same shtick. And I think he was less impressive in this film than he was in the others.
You think it was because he's like 1 foot out the door? He kind of knew this is last Iron Man. He doesn't really care about the stuff. He's made his money and he's like, I'm going to go be an actor now.
Maybe a little bit of that.
Yeah.
I think it's just there again. You're in your third movie of a trilogy or a third movie in a series. You're playing the same character. This is supposedly the one where we have more in-depth exploration of Tony Stark, and I just never really saw that. To me, it was just him doing his same shtick, and even when he believes that his girlfriend has perished, he still is hamming it up and he's still doing the one-liners. And it's like, okay, you're just doing what people in the audience want you to do. Right. And to me, that's a paycheck performance. So
I can see that.
All right.
Alan, your 2013 film that you most wanted to have seen, but haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, Inside Llewyn Davis.
Okay, same for me.
Technically, it is a 2013 film. It is released in December. We're probably not going to have a chance to see it until January, but that is the one right there.
Yeah, same here. It's a Coen Brothers movie. I'm dying to see it. And honestly, this is going to sound strange, but believe it or not, I'm interested to see what Justin Timberlake does.
Yeah, well, I like Justin Timberlake. I think
even
he's
though
a
I
good
saw
actor.
him in Runner, he wasn't bad in Runner. The movie was just horrible. But I'm interested to see what he can do.
I think he's going to do a lot better in a Coen Brothers film where he can poke fun at himself more and have a little bit more of a comedic vibe than some of these action thrillers he's been doing recently.
And although I don't really... He's a good musician.
Yeah.
And this movie revolves around music. So I'm interested to see how that happens.
And normally is a good fit for an actor if they actually have some musical ability to play a musician.
Right.
That's normally where we see him get to shine and have some fun with the role a little bit more. Yeah. My only runner-up on that is The Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay.
Oh, and American Hustle. Forgot about that. I've actually got several films I really want to see over the next couple of weeks.
But not Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
I'll see it, but I'm not terribly excited about it. It looks like it's just a little bit of an overdone puff piece is what I'm seeing, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
Okay, so let's wrap up with our last category, and this is kind of our...
we had two.
Oh, we did?
I think.
Oh, and we did have two. I'm sorry, I missed one completely there. Let's go ahead and do the memorable cinematic moment of 2013.
All right.
Chris, what do you have as far as something that just really stands out to you as a real memorable moment, scene, visual, or something from a movie?
This is going to come down to the dinner conversation in Greece in Before Midnight. And that probably 15, 20-minute scene that has all these couples sitting around a table in different stages of their relationship. You have a younger couple, really younger couple, then you have two middle-aged couples, and then you have a couple that basically they're not husband and wife, but they both lost their significant other, and they're like 80-some years old. And the different little aspects and the kind of stories they share around the table, that could have been its own short film done by Richard Linklater. It was just, the writing was really good. The acting was really good. It was just, I don't know, just the rest of the movie could not live up to that moment. I mean, it was still a good movie, but that was such a cool 15, 20 minutes. It was really awesome. So that's my cinematic moment.
Very cool. Mine is going to be so cliche, but the movie Gravity. Yeah. Just cinematically. I mean, I'm just,
you're right.
The whole opening sequence when you realize you're watching on a huge big screen and it's just this one long take. I know it's all digital work. So it's not as impressive as a true camera one take shot.
Sure.
But the orchestration of it, moving between the different characters and hearing the different sounds as we get closer to them. To me, that whole opening 10, 15 minute sequence, getting to know the characters and kind of getting a lay of the land was really impressive.
I agree. That actually is as far as looking on a big screen, that would kind of double for a movie going theater experience, seeing Gravity. I just wish the story could have kept up with the visuals.
Well, yeah, and you and I talked about it a little bit. I mean, we were a little let down with the film in general.
I think I was definitely let down.
Yeah. But I will say, visually speaking, the opening of the film was really, really remarkable. My runner-up on that one is Ron Burgundy bottle feeding a shark in Anchorman 2. So
awesome.
Always funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, now we'll do our last one.
Gotcha. Yeah, so this one's going to be our Footcandle recommendation of 2013. So looking back over all of 2013, what's the film that we're going to pull and be like, hey, you guys should seek this out. You probably haven't, even if you have heard of it, maybe you haven't seen it, but we want to say of all the films of 2013, seek this out. What's it going to be for you, Alan?
It's got to be Mud.
Okay.
When I went and looked on Letterboxd, where I log all the films I see and I give them the star ratings and all, and I sorted from top to bottom star ratings, the most recent film I put up there with a really, really high rating is Mud.
Okay.
Matthew McConaughey, I think, is amazing in the film. I really like the Stand By Me kind of two young kids kind of growing and experiencing things as kids. The whole thing just worked for me.
Gotcha.
It had enough mystique and mystery, and I liked the setting in the South. It just completely worked for me. I really, really like this film.
Well, for me, it was a film we've already talked about, Prince Avalanche. And that was the one that, it was kind of neck and neck with Mud, but Prince Avalanche is the one that I feel like people should try to seek out. And should have
Paul Rudd and Emil Hirsch as two guys working road. I mean, basically painting lines on roads in a part of Texas where there's been some wildfire.
And what was, there's had some dramatic elements. There were elements of humor, and then also the cinematography of David Gordon Green was just kind of what elevated it. And the fact that sentimentally it was a return to form for him to some of his earlier works.
It's a much better film than what he's been turning out lately.
Yeah.
Good. So Mud and Prince Avalanche.
Yes.
And I'll throw in as a runner-up, No, the Gael Garcia Bernal movie that we screened earlier this year.
Okay.
Some films that probably didn't get as much attention at the Cineplex as they should have, but we are saying you ought to definitely check out. Prince Avalanche, I believe, is on Netflix right now, if I remember correctly. I think maybe it is.
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah. And Mud, I believe, is you can watch it now on demand, iTunes type of thing. And No may be there as well. And I think all three of these are ones enough time has passed since they were released. You can see all of them online at this moment. So those are the ones we think you ought to check out for sure. Chris, we did a lot during this year-end extravaganza show.
It's
four current movie reviews, a flashback review for It's a Wonderful Life, and then a whole bunch of year-end accolades and awards to give out. So we're going to say sayonara to 2013 at this point, except when the Oscar nominations come out in a couple months.
Right.
I'm sure we will be dedicating some of our show at that time to talk about the nominations, which will all be for this past year. So we're not done with 2013 quite yet. But as far as we're concerned, let's go ahead and start talking about some new films coming out in the next few weeks here and reviewing them in January. And, who knows, some of these last-minute releases on Christmas Day or afterwards may displace some of our awards. We may have to come back and do a little re-edit of these recognitions. Who knows?
Could happen.
You've been listening to Footcandle Films here on themesh.tv. This is our podcast network where you can go and listen to all the shows from not only this show, all the episodes we've posted, or go and listen to any other Mesh TV show. You've got business shows, lifestyle, sports shows, everything in between. So we encourage you to go check it out at themesh.tv. Post a note, let us know what you think, and spread the love and subscribe to us on iTunes and make sure that you get every new episode we put out for free coming right to you. And then if you want to learn more about our film society, you can do that at footcandle.org. That is our film society where we talk about the films that we're screening here in the Western North Carolina area, post some reviews, and we also have posted episodes of this show as well. So for all of that, I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks a lot, Chris, for a great year on Footcandle Films.
It's been fun.
Yeah, look forward to a good 2014 coming up. Take care, everyone.
See you in the ticket line.
Special thanks to Carpal Tuller for the show theme music. For more about Carpal Tuller, visit www.carpaltuller.com. You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.